What could have happened that was so bad that Wolverine will never pop his claws again? Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites and then revert it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Don't forget to support the industry by going to your local comic book store or buying these books online. Now today, we're going to be covering one of the most beloved stories in the Marvel multiverse. And the main reason that we're going to be covering it is because right now in the Secret Wars, Old Man Logan is roaming around. And he's going to be around in the all-new Marvel. This is the story of Old Man Logan, 50 years after all of the superheroes lost to the supervillains. Something happened that is causing Logan to never use his claws or even fight again. But what will he do when a blind Hawkeye needs his help?
We open on Logan, now an old man riding his horse into his small rundown farm in California. He's in charge of this land, and he has a family, a wife, and 2 small children. Things are not well for Logan. This is not a happy life, but a life with struggle where Logan pays rent to the Hulk gang, and the rent is due. With nothing to pay this month, Logan refuses to sell his children's toys to pay this rent, so he decides that he will face the Hulk gang and try to reason with them. Perhaps get a pass on the rent this month. But the Hulk gang does not do reason. And when they arrive on the farm the next day in the Fantastic Car, they bully Logan and they run him down. They already know that he can't pay the rent. A confrontation is brewing, and suddenly Logan pops his claws and he fights back against the Hulks. Except he doesn't. It was just a daydream, a fleeting thought. Logan has become a pacifist, and he swore to never unleash his claws again. And instead, the Hulk gang pummels Logan into the ground. They leave him a bloody mess, and they tell him that he owes double next month. Otherwise, his family will die. Lying in his bed, Logan's healing factor helps mend the wounds, and he's paid a visit by one of the old Avengers, Hawkeye, who is now blind. But even a blind man can see the trouble that Logan is in, and he proceeds to offer the former Wolverine a job to help Hawkeye deliver a package to New Babylon on the east coast of the United States. If Logan's willing to help him, he'll pay him $500, which should presumably cover his debt to the Hulk gang. Logan agrees to take the job, and the next day he says goodbye to his family and he gets on board the Spider-Mobile with Hawkeye, and they embark on an adventure to save Logan's family. Their journey begins by taking them through Northern California, where they encounter the Monoloids that live underground and have infested San Francisco. As Hawkeye tells Logan, these things are new and they've been sinking whole cities. He thinks that this is the Earth trying to take back what belongs to it. They begin by exploring an empty building for survivors when the Ghost Riders attack out of nowhere. Logan scrambles to get to the Spider-Mobile, but he's immediately attacked by a Ghost Rider gang member. The gang member shows no mercy as he beats the life out of Logan, egging him on. "Why don't you fight back?" And Logan tells his enemies that he will never hurt another living soul. Leaving Logan on the ground, Hawkeye has seen enough of this astonishing sight and he proceeds to shoot the Ghost Riders with arrows, murdering them where they stood. You see, Hawkeye might be blind, but he has an amazing sense of hearing. Logan is appalled by the violence from this one-time Avenger, but Hawkeye just looks at Logan in disgust and asks, "What the hell did they do to you, man?" And Logan replies, "They broke me, bub." The two eventually arrive at Hammer Falls, which is the #1 tourist attraction in America because, well, it's the final resting place of Thor's hammer. Even though they were simply planning to stop through the town, they're immediately approached by Ultron 8, who is now married to Hawkeye's 3rd ex-wife, Tanya. Ultron 8 pleads with Hawkeye to go see her, and when they meet her, they learn that his daughter, Ashley, has recently formed a super team that has been captured by the new Kingpin. Hawkeye needs to rescue her, but Logan is only interested in going to deliver the package. Hawkeye offers to double his pay if he helps him rescue his daughter, and Logan reluctantly agrees, although he still plans on not using any violence to assist Hawkeye. He won't pop these claws. At Salt Lake City, Kingpin sits in an arena as he watches 2 of Ashley's teammates, Daredevil and Punisher, get eaten alive by a pack of raptor-like dinosaurs. As Fisk leaves the arena, Logan identifies where Fisk is keeping Ashley, and Hawkeye enacts a crazy plan where he uses the Spider-Mobile to simply drive into the building and rescue her. The Spider-Mobile can do whatever a spider does. As the car crashes into the prison, Hawkeye leaps out and kills all of the opposition in his way. And as he frees Ashley, the Kingpin walks in demanding to know what's going on. But before he can get an answer, the newly freed Ashley takes a shotgun and uses it to decapitate the Kingpin. As it turns out, Ashley was planning to take over the Kingpin's territory by killing the Kingpin. She had no intention of coming here to save people. Hawkeye's daughter has gone completely evil villain on her father, and she lifts the shotgun to bash in Hawkeye's head. But Logan uses the Spider-Mobile to drive into the building and rescue Hawkeye from his power-crazy daughter. They drive off only to be pursued by Ashley's newly acquired evil henchmen. And as Logan and Hawkeye make their escape, suddenly the earth opens up beneath them in an earthquake, and they fall into a dark and awful peril. The victims of the earthquake surround Logan and Hawkeye in darkness as they realize that they're surrounded by the Monoloids, and they're going to be eating them alive. Thankfully, our heroes are able to free the Spider-Mobile and climb out of the earthquake crevasse, just like a spider can. Shortly after that, the two travel across the country without much more incident, and we see some of the horrible sights of this new world. Eventually, they find a calm moment to sit down for a drink at a small dive bar in Des Moines, where Logan nearly lets his claws let loose on a drunken idiot. He gathers his composure, and he storms out of the bar, and Hawkeye once again asks him, "What happened, man? What did they do to you?" This time, Logan says, "Sit down and I'll tell you." So you want to know why Logan hasn't popped his claws in 50 years? Why he is now a pacifist? It began in Westchester, where Wolverine was with Jubilee, and they were receiving distress calls from the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., and the Fantastic Four. It turns out that the villains had finally assembled, and they were attacking everyone at once. It's just at that moment that a large group of villains pop into the room, and they seemingly kill Jubilee. There are too many villains to count, not just mutant villains, but all of the famous Marvel villains all at the same time. This is it, the final showdown. Wolverine pops his claws, and he does what he does best, by eviscerating all of the big bads. He fights to the protests of the mutant children in the Mutant Academy, and he continues his assault on these supervillains as he begins a long, drawn-out battle with Bullseye, which ends with Wolverine punching his claws into his gut. As Bullseye dies in his arms, it's at that moment that Wolverine comes to his senses, and he sees that it is Jubilee dead in his arms. In the room with Wolverine is Mysterio, the master of illusions, and he says, "Did you really think that you could do this alone? Take down 40 superpowered villains? Talk about delusions of grandeur. But your friends? People who would hesitate? That's a different matter entirely." Just then, Wolverine peers over his shoulder, and he sees the room for what it really is, what really happened. All of his X-Men allies have died by his claws. After that, he walked off into the wilderness, and he found a train track where he laid down and let the train run over his neck and head over and over. And Wolverine died. Logan would never pop his claws again. Logan and Hawkeye continue their journey east the next day through Doomshead, Illinois, where a giant venom-infected Tyrannosaurus Rex attacks them in the Spider-Mobile. They try to outrun it, but it's so fast, and Hawkeye uses the secret gun in their car to shoot it, but it's ineffective. Obviously, it's venom. But it's just at that moment that a man dressed in a black coat whispers a word, and the venom symbiote flies off of the T-Rex, and it collapses immediately. Before Logan and Hawkeye can ask any more questions, they're instantly transported to a strange facility, and it is here that they are greeted by a familiar face. The White Queen, Emma Frost, who looks surprisingly young because she mentally projects the image of her younger self to everyone around her. She has transported them to the Forbidden Quarter, which is the home of her husband, Dr. Doom. We find out that her marriage has preserved the 20 members of the mutant species that remain, as well as her old ally Black Bolt, the mysterious man who helped them with the T-Rex. After a few choice words, Emma has the Spider-Mobile fixed up and she sends them on their way, as Dr. Doom looks on. Shortly after departing from the Forbidden Quarter, our two travelers pass through the town known as Pym Falls, which, as they're crossing, they see why it's called that, and they reach their destination, New Babylon, which is overlooked by a giant statue of Red Skull. As they drive into the bustling city, Hawkeye finally reveals the true nature of his journey. Logan had suspected that their secret cargo was drugs this whole time, but as it turns out, Hawkeye was delivering something far more valuable than that. The two walk into a room where Hawkeye recognizes their contact, a man by the name of Tobias, and he opens the case to show Tobias that the package is intact and still containing 99 vials of super soldier serum that they plan to use to spark a rebellion against the Red Skull. Just imagine it, 99 Captain Americas. As payment, Hawkeye asks only to join the rebellion as a hero, even though he's old and blind, and Tobias agrees. Hawkeye is ecstatic and he tells Tobias, "Man, this is like when they first let me join the Avengers. It just feels so good to be accepted somewhere." But at that moment, Logan is riddled with bullets by one of the men in the room, and Tobias pulls a gun on Hawkeye and he shoots him in the stomach. It was all a setup by Red Skull. All of Hawkeye's hopes and dreams for redemption are gone, and he says to the vile Tobias, "Do your worst." Then Tobias shoots Clint Barton, Hawkeye, right between the eyes. Meanwhile, over in the Capitol building of New Babylon, Red Skull remembers defeating his greatest foe, Captain America, as he stands in a room filled with the memorabilia of all of the departed Marvel heroes. As Tobias and his shield lackeys walk into the room, we see that Red Skull is wearing Captain America's uniform as some sort of sick tribute to his fallen enemy. Tobias then drops 2 body bags in the room and also has the super soldier serums and a suitcase of money that was going to be used for the whole operation. Just as Red Skull is complimenting them on a job well done, Logan rises from his body bag, still regenerating from the many bullet wounds, and he punches out Tobias and the other shield members. Logan looks at Red Skull and says, "You're going down, Skull," and the two of them engage in a bloody fight. They throw punches back and forth, and Red Skull locks the room down so that they are in there alone and he can take out Logan by himself. Red Skull eventually picks up Black Knight's ebony sword from his trophy case, and just as he's about to strike down Logan, Logan blocks it with Captain America's shield. Logan, now armed with his legendary weapon, has the upper hand and he soon knocks down Red Skull. And without warning, and without mercy, he uses the vibranium edge of the shield to decapitate Red Skull, the first life that Wolverine has taken in over 50 years. Logan quickly has to find an escape from the rest of the soldiers that are in the compound, so he puts his hand on Iron Man's suit in the trophy case and he decides to use that against the soldiers. Then he sees the suitcase full of money and he grabs it and he flies out of New Babylon using what's left of the suit's power. It turns out there is just enough power to take Logan from New Babylon to within a 36-hour walk of his home in California. So, all is well. He's returning with 2 weeks to spare and the money so that he can pay the rent to the Hulk Gang and then live happily ever after. But when he gets home, he finds out the grisly truth. The Hulk's got bored. He walks into his home only to find his wife and 2 children murdered on the floor. It is then, with a resounding shtick, that Logan dies and Wolverine is born again. What happens after this is not pretty or subtle. It's just pure carnage. Wolverine does what he does best, and he hunts down each and every member of the Hulk Gang, and he murders them in as many grotesque ways as he can. He does not hold back. His revenge is nearly complete, and after tracking down every member of the Hulk Gang, he troubles upon Bruce Banner's lair for the final showdown. Bruce Banner has been holed up here with one of his grandchildren, simply known as Baby Bruce. Bruce Banner doesn't give very many reasons for why he moved into the country and had a redneck family of Hulks, but he does explain that it was probably something to do with the gamma radiation messing with his head a little. So old, frail human form of Bruce Banner, with superhuman strength, fights against Logan. And as they fight, Banner reveals that he was bored of being a landlord, bored of being a supervillain. He wanted someone to fight and kill again, which is why he decided to get his greatest nemesis, Wolverine, back. But Wolverine is the best at what he does, and he lunges into the old puny Banner, and he runs him through the stomach with his adamantium claws, which finally awakens the beast that is the Hulk. Now the size of a building, he grabs Wolverine and he bites into him. Hours later, another remaining Hulk relative walks back into Bruce Banner's lair, and he sees Hulk sinning and reveling at his greatest victory. He ate Wolverine, but Hulk is having stomach cramps. And suddenly, Wolverine bursts out of Hulk's body, presumably killing Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk finally. 1 month later, Logan is at the funeral of his family. He is there with the locals that knew him and his family, and they're all sorry for his loss. They all want to know, what is Logan going to do now? But he has nothing left. With his family dead, he is dressed up and ready to ride away from his old life. As he's ready to leave, one of them asks, "Are you really going to bring law back to this country?" And he replies, "Why not? Got nothing better to do." While the task may seem impossible, Logan begins to ride off into the sunset with little baby Bruce Banner strapped to his back. And that is the what-if story of Old Man Logan. But, as of the time of making this video, you can go get the continuation right now, where Old Man Logan and Baby Bruce crossed into Battleworld and crossed over many different worlds set up in Secret Wars right now. And for what it looks like in all new, all different Marvel, this will be the Logan that we're going to get. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please give this video a like. It really helps us. We really do appreciate it. And don't forget to subscribe to get your daily comic book content. I'm Benny for Comicstorian, and I'll see you guys next time right here.